All right, thanks so much, Joy. Well, we start today in Puerto Rico, where a scientist is making history as the first woman leading the Forestry Service. Our Francis Felix reports.
For the first time in their 80-year history, the International Institute of Tropical Taxonomy in Puerto Rico is led by a woman, the Dr. Grisel Gonzalez. Gonzalez is a Puerto Rican scientist who has a doctor's degree in the University of Colorado at Boulder. During her path, she has made investigations in ecology. As part of her new assignment, she must promote research programs, international cooperation and developments in state and private forests. For her, this promotion represents a stepping stone reached by the Puerto Rican scientific community.
This challenge represents an opportunity and really a lot of excitement for me because it's a way to bring science to the contemporary world that we live on now, where there are so many issues like climate change that need to be addressed. So being the lead of the Institute, it's bringing the science to the people in a way that can help them understand the importance of conservation of our natural resources and how we can better manage our resources for the benefit of society.
What are your long-term plans in the Institute?
The long-term plans for the Institute, it's really to really engage all the programs that are contained within the Forest Service that are represented in the Institute. It's not just about the science, but we have a program that is for state and private forestry, international cooperation. So looking at all those programs cohesively and looking at the authorities to make sure that the science that we produce can be applied not only to Puerto Rico, but any other countries in the Caribbean region and even to the globe. It is really important to understand that we live in a tropical area in the greater Caribbean region, and the information that we obtain here, it goes into models that help us understand what's going to happen to the globe in the future. And there's very few places in the world where this type of research happens, and fewer where this type of research has occurred during a long term. So the Institute has been doing this work since 1940, and we are in a really good position into informing of what's going to happen into the future.
What you will say to women and young girls who are studying science?
I would say it's a very fascinating time to get into this field and try to get a lot of interns and experiences at trying different fields within science. When I started my biology degree, I went into biology thinking I was going to go to a medical school, but then I went into a plant physiology lab, then a soil ecology lab, and then I kind of narrowed my field of expertise by trying different laboratories and different interns. So this is something I recommend. And there might here, I know down the road, there might be a professor saying that they don't have the opportunity to work in a lab, maybe if it's through an stipend, but you can volunteer with other organizations. So if you hear a no, keep knocking those doors because they're eventually a door will open.
Gonzalez wants to continue to position the Institute as a place where scientific research with impact can be continued to be developed not only in Puerto Rico, but also in the Virgin Islands and in the Caribbean. From Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico, Francis Felix.
All right, thanks so much, Francis. In the meantime, this Wednesday, leaders from FEMA and NOAA held their annual National Hurricane Conference, and it's all to discuss the latest in hurricane warnings and readiness ahead of the upcoming season, as well as lessons learned from recent storms. A new study predicts there will be at least 19 named storms and 9 hurricanes, 4 of which will be Category 3 or higher. Additionally, researchers anticipate an above-average probability for major hurricanes making landfall along the U.S. coastline and in the Caribbean. And meantime, a new study suggests that the climate crisis is supercharging rainfall and hurricanes. The journal Nature Communication published a study earlier on this week. It found that rainfall from hurricanes during the record-breaking 2020 season was as much as 11% higher due to human-caused climate change. Researchers determined global warming increased hourly rainfall rates in tropical storms and hurricanes by 5 to 10%. When they just looked at hurricanes, the increase was 8 to 11%. These findings suggest the threat has been increasing over the past few decades, and it will likely increase more in the future. That's because warmer air can hold much more water vapor, which leads to higher rainfall rates. In the meantime, the Education Ministry in Jamaica says they have been able to re-engage over 87,000 students who were not turning up for classes online through its Yard to Yard initiative. Now, during the midst of the pandemic, approximately 120,000 primary and high school students were not showing up for online class or participating in activities regarding their education. The Yard to Yard Find a Child initiative was launched in January of this year, and it was a national call to action to identify, locate, and ultimately re-engage students with their schools so that they can continue their learning. The Minister of Education and Youth, Faye Val Williams, praised the efforts of guidance counselors, deans of discipline, as well as principals, teachers, administrators, and ordinary Jamaicans who joined the effort and reached out to parents and community members to re-engage students in the face-to-face setting.
Using a weekly average of 32,554 unaccounted for students over the period February 14th to April 1 shows that we have been able to re-engage approximately 87,446 of the 120,000 students we had indicated were not accounted for during the pandemic. Madam Speaker, we commit to finding all our students. Our deans of discipline and our guidance officers will specifically redouble their efforts. We also call on all Jamaicans. You know these children in your communities that are not attending school. Call us at 211. Our internal officers and eventually our truancy officers will visit homes to understand the issues why the children are not in school. Together with our Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, and with the help of other sister ministries, we commit to doing all we can to help the situations in the homes and get our students in school and learning again.
And switching gears now to the Turks and Caicos, it's been 1 week now since the arrival of the Queen's Baton in the TCI. And today, our Deandra Hamilton brings us a few highlights from that day.
Nearly a week since the exciting arrival of the Queen's Baton in the Turks and Caicos Islands, but the thrill of the visit lingers as more and more stories and images of the 3-day visit of the Queen's Baton emerge. The biggest moment, say organizers, the finale on the island of Grand Turk, where there was the largest turnout of all islands. Though they greeted the baton upon arrival to this British overseas territory, it was a return of country leaders when the QB touched down in GT. Event organizer and TCI Sports Hall of Famer Rita Gardner was particularly pleased with the youth participation. All Grand Turk schools got involved. A Pine Street wave and flags hoisted by marching cadets. The highlight of the final day was the Untold Story section, featuring who were labeled changemakers. First Olympian Delano Williams, first woman captain of the Turks and Caicos Islands Regiment, Captain Dixie Smith, and 10-year-old Ava Camille, who had to learn how to walk all over again after a tragic accident 3 years ago. The Queen's Baton first arrived in the TCI on Wednesday, April 6, in Providenciales. It then traveled to North and to Middle Caicos, and then to South Caicos and Salt Key. On arrival day, a welcome ceremony at the Cheshire Hall ruins. This is where the generational pass happened, beginning with centenarian Evan Landy, to her daughter Janet, to her granddaughter Maureen, to her great-grandson Adrian, who passed the Queen's Baton to Premier Washington Mizik.
Turks and Caicos, we will be participating in 3 major events, cycling, track and field, and swimming, and I'm looking forward to our team bringing home many medals in this historical year.
After a TCI visit, the baton...
And that was our Deandra Hamilton reporting there.